Hello everyone and welcome to this Divorcee Insight. I thought for this particular piece it might be useful if I explained in summary form the procedure for an uncontested conventional divorce. Now when I say uncontested, I am obviously talking about those divorces that are not being defended. There's a separate procedure that deals with those. It's quite complex and it's quite involved, and if it's something you're thinking about doing, then absolutely speak to your solicitor about it because there's an array of considerations that come into play. Now, the other thing that's worthwhile bearing in mind at all times is the divorce itself does not resolve your respective financial claims. There again is a separate procedure that deals with that, and you're going to have to engage that procedure with a view to ultimately obtaining a court order that deals with those claims. You can obtain that court order either by consent, i.e. by agreement, or through an application to the court, but it's absolutely essential that you deal with that. There's a common misconception that I see and hear about regularly that the divorce itself, once it takes place, dismisses any further claims or any future claims that you can bring against each other, which is not the case. So please do bear that in mind at all times. Now, as for the divorce and the procedure, the vast majority of divorces are now completed online. You will start it by completing a petition. The petition will require you to provide information about who you are, your spouse, your marriage, but it will also require you to notify the court how they have jurisdiction, which is the legal ability to deal with your divorce. The other important element is the information that you give the court in terms of the fact that you will be relying upon in support of your application, and therefore the reason for why your marriage has irretrievably broken down. Once you've completed that petition, you will submit it to court, who will issue it, and once they've issued it, they will communicate with your spouse, the respondent, and invite them to complete an acknowledgement of service. That acknowledgement of service, again, is relatively straightforward to complete. The most important question on it is typically, do you have an intention to defend? Obviously, we're dealing with an uncontested procedure here, so the answer would be no. When that's completed, the respondent, your spouse, will submit that to court, who, when they receive it, will communicate with you and invite you to take the next step. The next step on your behalf involves the completion and submission of two forms. The first being a statement in support of divorce, which effectively confirms that the contents of your petition remain true or notifies the court of any changes that you wish to make. And then the second form is an application for a decree nisi. A decree nisi is essentially a provisional divorce. Once the court receives those forms, they'll look at everything together, and if they're satisfied that you have sufficiently proved to them that you're entitled to a divorce, they will issue both you and your spouse with a certificate confirming that to be the case. That certificate is called a certificate of entitlement to a decree. Now, on the certificate will be a date fixed for the pronouncement of decree nisi, which is usually about a month later. There shouldn't be any need for either of you to attend unless certain things are in play. For example, there's an application for costs that's being contested. Once the decree nisi has been pronounced, it's then open to you as the petitioner to make an application to make the divorce final. You have to wait at least a period of 6 weeks and a day following on from the pronouncement of decree nisi before you can make that application, and that application is achieved through an application for decree absolute. The decree absolute is the final stage, and it's the official confirmation that you're divorced. Now, if you, the petitioner, didn't make that application, then it's open to the respondent to make the application themselves, but they have to wait a further 3 months, and their application will be heard on notice, which essentially means that the court will list it for a hearing, and at that hearing they'll determine whether decree absolute should be granted or not. So that, in a nutshell, is how an uncontested conventional divorce procedure works its way through the system. But as always, there are various things that come into play as part of that whole procedure that really need to be considered at all times. Things such as the jurisdiction that I've highlighted. You know, if your spouse or you are resident and living in another country, then it's worthwhile really speaking to a solicitor because, again, an array of considerations come into play there. I hope you found the video useful though, and I hope you found the information I've shared to be useful. But absolutely, by all means, if you have any further questions whatsoever, please do not hesitate to get in touch. There's a contact us form on the website, or alternatively, you can email us or telephone us with the details being provided on the website too. As I say, I hope you found it useful, and thank you for watching.